Hey Carly, hey Jess.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Good.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you guys are back here again this week. So we're going to start off today's session with kind of a weird question. So we're going to think about a scale. So think in terms of a scale, a normal scale, 0 to 10. 0 being, Jess, when you first called and you weren't doing so well and you wanted to really improve on some things. Let's think of you as a 0 then. And when you would be a 10, that would be when you are absolutely doing your best and where you can see yourself ideally. So when we think of that scale today, 0 to 10, Jess, where do you see yourself on that scale today?
On a scale from 0 to 10, I feel like I'd be a 4.
Okay. Carly, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think she would definitely be at a 4.
Okay, so is that what you were expecting her to say?
Yeah, I was expecting that. It's pretty bad.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out a number, and we're going to think about you, Jess, in terms of this number as a goal. So if I were to say that your goal was for you to get to a 7, how long do you think it would take you to get there? Considering your anxiousness, how long do you think it would take you to get there?
I feel like it would take forever for me to get there. I just cannot see it happening.
Okay, so you're thinking it might take you a while to get to a 7.
I do.
Okay.
It seems impossible.
Okay, so if I were to say getting you to a 10, would you say that that's just absolutely unrealistic right now?
I do. I think that's impossible. I think 10 is completely unrealistic.
Okay, and what do you think about a 7?
7 would be amazing.
Okay.
Anything is an improvement.
Okay, so we're going to work with the 7. So I agree that a 7 would be much better than the 4. But eventually, down the road, you may be higher than a 7. So a 7 seems difficult to you now. So what would it take you to get to a 7 today, Jess?
I think it would just take a very long time.
Okay.
I don't see it happening. I
Okay.
just don't know. It's hard to answer for me.
Okay. So, Carly, I'm going to ask you about this. Since Jess is saying that, a 7 is so hard for her to get to, and a 10, which would be perfection, is such a long way away, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that it's not going to happen overnight. Her anxiety has been here for a long time, and it's ever since Dad died, it's really just declined and gotten a lot worse. So I think that it's possible, but it's going to take a while.
Okay, so you think that Jess was right when she said that a 7 out of 10 might be difficult,
Yes,
but could be possible.
definitely possible.
Okay, so how much better do you think she could get? Do you think a 7 is the good number, or do you think even higher?
I think you could get to an 8.
Do you really think I can improve that much?
I really think you could get there.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's possible.
Okay, so if we're thinking it would take a while to get to a 7, and you both agree that this is going to be a lengthy process to get you to a 7, and obviously we need to know that it isn't just going to happen overnight for you to get to a 7. So, Jess, when things are at a 7, what kind of things would be different that you would notice in your life?
If I was at a 7, I would just be so much less anxious.
Okay, so we know right now that you're feeling an extreme amount of anxiousness. So how would you feel instead of anxious?
Instead of anxious, I just hate to admit it, but I would be more like Carly.
Wow. Carly, what do you think about that?
I think that she would just feel less tense.
Okay. So Jess, when you say more like Carly in the way that Carly feels?
Well, yeah, more in the way that Carly feels. She's just so calm and she's so laid back and she doesn't worry all the time like I do, and she lives her life, and I cannot live my life so laid back like her.
So you guys are very different in that sense. Okay. So Jess, you're saying that is something that you would like to be, but you're just not that way at this moment.
I would love that. I would love to have that carefree lifestyle.
Okay. So if you were at a 7, it would seem that you would just be more like Carly, more laid back.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So when you were more laid back like that and you're a 7 on the scale, what else would be different at that time?
Well, I wouldn't be making as many lists as I do right now.
Okay. So what about lists? Are lists a big part of your life right now?
They're a huge part of my life. I am just making lists constantly, every day. Right when I wake up, I make my to-do list, and there's, it's pages, and it's all day, every day, and I cannot function without my lists. I couldn't do it.
Okay. Well, I do think that lists are a part of a lot of people's lives, but this sounds like it's getting to an extent where it's almost unmanageable. So if you were 7, you're saying that you wouldn't be worrying about lists at all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would have a short list, but it wouldn't be like how it is now.
Okay. And do you think Carly can help you with these lists at all?
Yeah, I think that she could definitely help lighten the load a little bit and just help me with some things, and maybe it wouldn't be so stressful for me.
What do you think, Carly?
Yeah, I think that, if that's what it takes for you to get there, then we're willing to work with it.
Okay. So Jess was saying that to have moved forward into a 7, those are some things that would need to be different for her.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you notice about Jess that would be different if she was at a 7?
I think that she wouldn't be nagging me as much. We would have just a better relationship. We would kind of rekindle our relationship like we used to have, and we could really enjoy the time that we would spend together.
Okay, so if you found Jess being less tense, what would she be like instead?
She would be happy,
Okay.
I think. Like she would smile, probably.
Okay. So you can tell when she's uptight.
Oh yeah. She does this thing with her jaw, and she'll just turn her back to me and just ignore me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can definitely, it's noticeable.
Okay, so you wouldn't want her to, you would notice that she wouldn't be turning her back on you. And what else would you notice at this stage?
She wouldn't be making so many lists.
Okay. So.
I feel like I definitely agree with your list thing.
Okay.
I understand your list, but I feel like it's still possible to function without them.
Okay, so now that you kind of have told me what you think Jess's differences would be if she was at a 7, would there be any changes for you if she was at a 7?
Like I said before, I think just our relationship in
Okay.
general, that would be a change for me.
Okay.
It would be not only a change for me, it would be a change for both of us.
Great. Well, thank you both for sharing, what you think that both of your lives would be like if you were to get Jess to a 7. So now that we dealt with that weird question, I'm going to ask you another one. So I apologize for the weird questions. And for this one, you're definitely going to have to try to use your imagination. So, Jess, this is the question for you. So suppose that after work one day, you go home and you do your usual evening activities, and you do your routine, and you go to bed and you go to sleep, and while you're asleep, a miracle happens, kind of like magic. And you wake up in the morning and you didn't realize, but a miracle has happened. How would you know that when you wake up in the morning that a miracle has happened and the problem is solved? What would be the first small sign that tells you your problem is resolved?
Well,
I know it's a long question, sorry.
It's okay. I wish that a miracle would happen, and if it did, I would notice, the first thing I would notice is that I would have no anxiety.
Okay.
So
That's a big one.
Yeah. So right when I wake up, I wouldn't feel anxious, and I, wouldn't have to worry about everything, and I wouldn't be making my lists like I said, and I would just be able to breathe and be calm. And
Okay. Well, that sounds
And
like
maybe
that would
go
be
to work. Maybe she could go
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be really good for you. So what else can you see happening, Jess?
Yeah, well, like Carly said, I'd be able to go to work.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Since now I
Important.
can't even work because I'm so anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I could spend more time with Carly. And
That's nice. Okay, so what kinds of things would you do with Carly?
well, now since the anxiety and the issues that we've been having, all we do is fight. So maybe just watching a movie or going to dinner and spending quality time without fighting at all. That would be nice.
So, if you woke up in the morning and you were spending time with Carly, that's how you would know that a miracle had happened overnight.
Yeah, and another big thing that would happen is that there'd be a nurse or someone to take care of our mom.
Okay.
That's a huge stress on me, and if there was a miracle, she would be taken care of. Because I don't want her to, not have a good life, but I also
course.
don't want to be worrying about her all the time, which I
That
am.
is great. That's definitely a good miracle that could happen. So, in this scenario, how did you decide to have a miracle day instead of a stressful and anxiety-filled day?
Well, if this were to happen, I think that I would, tell myself that I should just live my life and, not worry so much about everything and every little detail about the day and everyone. And I would just decide to live life to the fullest and be a little bit more carefree.
And focus on yourself.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, it kind of sounds like Jess has adopted a new perspective on things. Since the meetings that we started a few weeks ago, it sounds like you've really been changing your thinking with the help of your sister Carly, and it seems like you're becoming more of an independent problem solver, which I think is really important for us to work on right now. So those are my questions for you today, and I'll see you next week, and thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.